Welcome to CNC Machinist Made Easy. We're doing a field trip today. Our first field trip on the big machining center here. We'll call it the big ones because we just came from manuals. We came from the house shooting PowerPoints. Right now, we'll take a look at what we got here. I want to show you a little bit about the machine. Today's topic is going to be just an introduction to CNC machines. Here we have a piece. We can see right here, there's a piece in the machine. As you can see, we've got our center drill right here. I'll put in pocket number 1. And as we can see up here, we have an entire Haas machining center. Okay, you can see a few of the buttons and things like that. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you is fundamentals of machining on a CNC. And I'm going to make it to the point where I used to teach the guys. It has to be made and taught simply from the ground up. We're not going to start with helical interpolation today. We're going to start with the basics of what this machine does and what it needs to know for us to program it and make parts. So the first thing I want to share with you, there's 3 things these machines have to know before you can make a part. 1, first of all, they have to know where they are. When they get up in the morning, just like you get up in the morning, they don't know where they are. We want to send them home. When they're home, they know where they are. So let me show you the first step of every machining center you'll ever run. When you go in the morning, you have to home the machine. Homing the machine is just going to the limit switches of a certain corner and bringing the Z head up to a certain corner where it knows where it is. And once it knows where it is, then I can shoot off to anywhere I want and make my own zero. But it will never know where it's at before it gets its own home. Because my home that I create, or my zeros, go back to my videos where you can, what Z offset or XY offsets are, or datums or zeros, it only knows mine from where its home is. So when I'm done for the day and I shut the machine down, everything's going to sleep like you and I do. When we wake up in the morning, if I want to continue to run that part, I need to wake my machine up, so to speak. I need to send it home so it knows where it is, and then I can hit cycle start and zoom, she'll go right to where it was, where it left off yesterday. But let me show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a button called home on this machine. But I don't want you to look at that. I want you to watch the machine. The Z head is right here. It's going to home itself, and then the table's going to come to the limit switches. So watch, keep your eye on it. Don't worry about my hand up here. There, it's going home right now. See, now it's going to that limit switch and to that limit switch. Now normally the Z would have moved as well, but I already did home it. So I just moved it. Otherwise the Z will come up and it will slowly come down and boom. So now your X, your Y, and your Z are now home. If you look right up here at the machine 0, this one right here, 0, 0, 0. Now that machine is saying to you, good morning, I know where I am. Now we can start our process, whether we're creating a new job or the one we left off from yesterday. Okay? Now, the second thing we need to teach it, we need to tell the machine, is where our 0 is. Now, we edge found, we know that, we know this, and I'm not going to go through exactly all that with you right now because that'll get further into this control right here. You have to let it, you know where your 0 is. And if you're just running the job from the previous day, it'll already know that from its exact same home position. Now, I want to share something with you. In my previous videos, it was always critical, like I told you, the most critical part of machining is understanding your math, understanding your decimals, understanding reading rulers, understanding how when a guy says 5 thousandths, what that means, 25 thousandths, what that means, what it means to say a 1/4 inch in a decimal or a 1/2 inch in a fraction, whatever. Them are the fundamentals of this. But now we're starting to get into the meat of what we're doing here with the machining centers. Remember when I showed you your X and Y 0? That's what we need to establish. Now the guy, if we let's manually, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do a few things here with you. Don't expect to grab it. I'm going to hit manual, move in 10,000 increments with the X axis. And then I'm going to crank. You watch the table over there as I'm cranking. See, I can manually move it as I did with the manual, so to speak. Okay. Now come back over here with the camera, and now I'm going to hit Y, and I'm going to come and crank the table. Now check, the table's moving in the Y position. And as I go, come back over here again. Good camera guy today. Z. We're gonna hit Z and we'll go and we'll look at the Z head. Up and down, up there on the head, up and down, you see? Now what I want you to note to the left of these is all these tools. If you look at these tools have, get that camera down a little bit, these tools have different lengths, okay? They all have different lengths, don't they? This tool comes down farther than this one. This one's way up here, right? Okay, so now, what I want you to understand is when we were back in the shop, well, not in the shop, at home making some of these videos, and I was teaching you about your X and Y, right? Now, if we look down here, this guy's got an X and Y of right here. He's got an X and a Y of right here. So no matter which tool he's got right there, X and Y are always in this corner, right? However, the Z is going to be different for each height. This one is a shorter tool than some of them. So what I want you to understand is this is something that was confused me for multiple months when I was learning machining. I always thought X, Y, and Z were the same, but they're not. X and Y are the same. Z, each tool has to have its own Z because each tool is a different length. So you have to notify the machine, which is certainly, first of all, getting your zero. First, wake the machine up and home it. Establish where you want your home. If it was from the one from yesterday, you have to establish nothing. It'll remember that. And the second thing is you have to touch your tools off. So a guy will say, hey, the first thing you need to do is wake your machine up. The next thing you need to do is edge find. Go back to the videos to edge find to establish our zero. And the third thing we need to do is touch our tools off. So when someone would come up to you and say, hey, why don't you edge find and touch some tools off? What they're doing is saying, find your zero, and then the tools that we're going to use, we need to touch them off, okay? And what do I mean when I say touch them off? I'll show you. Bring that camera on over here. I'm gonna insert this tool into the pocket here. Always be safe, okay? Now, I am going to come, this machine does not know the height of this tool. If I tell it to go down and center drill this, how do you know it's not going to fly down and break the piece or stay up here and try to center drill it? We have to tell this is tool 1 for all purposes. This is tool 1. So what I need to do is I need to come over here by my machine, and I'm just going to get it so I can, don't worry about all these fast buttons I'm hitting. I'm moving it, and then I'm going to manually bring it down, bring it down, and bring it down, and I'm going to bring it right down until I touch that part. Okay? Now what we normally do in our world is I'll take a piece of paper, which I have right here, and I will, in a slow increment, look at all it is, don't get ahead of yourself. I'm going to keep moving it back and forth as I'm dropping it. Just keep moving it back and forth, else it's going to catch that piece of paper. Right there, I can feel it start grabbing it. I'm just moving it down in the thousands. You can feel it getting tighter and tighter. There, now let's grab the piece of paper. I'm going to take that thing, and I'm going to come back over here, and there's a 0 for my tool lengths. I'm here, the machine knows tool 1 is in the pocket. There's a button right here called tool offset right here measure. If I hit that button, that's going to tell the machine that whenever I call that tool 1 up, in H1, which we'll get into in the next video or two, is telling me, okay, now I know when you're calling that tool up, how high it is off the top of that part. So when I say take that center drill and go as fast as you can, boom, 1 inch before the part, it'll know exactly when to stop. Because I've recorded the difference between when it wakes up in the morning and where it is right now. So when you write your program, it will know where it's at and it won't plow into the piece. And now I want you to take a look at that spindle. Okay? Take a look at that. Now it's going to zoom up, back up so you can see the whole thing. Now that that tool's touched off, I can simply go grab the next tool. And what it's going to do is it's going to go grab the next tool, the change tool, and it's going to grab the next tool, and I can manually go down and start touching that tool off. Okay, bring the camera back. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can tell my machine what it needs to know. Because all of them are different heights. Each tool has its own Z. But all the tools will have the same X and Y. And that's why, and you need to remember that for when we start programming. My X1, Y1, no matter what tool I do, it's gonna be X1, Y1. But the height of that tool depends on how long the tool is. So each tool has the same X and Y, but each tool has the same X and Y, but they don't have the same Z because each tool has a different length. So that's the second thing for programming. The first thing you do is you home it out, you edge find, and you touch your tools off. You notify each tool what the top of the part is. And now your machine has that knowledge. Now you can, thirdly, which brings to our third one, you can begin to program, okay? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with introductory to G-codes, and then I'm going to come back in the near future. So when I start typing G-codes on the machine, you'll better understand what I'm typing and how it's being used. So we're gonna stop the video right here. I wanna thank you guys for watching CNC Machinists Made Easy, introduction to machining centers, and thanks for watching.